Hi, I'm Kate Navin, author of 101 Secrets of Canadian Culture. Today's secret is secret number 15. We're polite to servers in restaurants. Because I teach English to newcomers to Canada, I've been exposed to a lot of different attitudes and ideas about culture and about etiquette. What is the polite thing to do in various places? And one of the things that is very different from one country to another often is how we talk to servers and how we deal with servers in restaurants. Now, some of you might not know what a server is because we used to call these people waiters if they were men and waitress if they were women. So you might be more familiar with the term waiter or waitress. But we don't say that anymore because we've tried to remove sexist language from English. And so we use the word server because a server could be a man or a server could be a woman. So we're going to talk today about how to be polite to a server. Normally in Canada, we thank our server every time they give us something. They give us a menu, we say thank you. They give us a fork and knife or a glass. They bring us our food. They bring us our coffee. We say thank you, thank you, thank you every time. And for a lot of people, of my students from different cultures, this seems a little overly formal. If you remember in secret number 2, just how polite we actually are. You know, one of my students' questions is, who do I need to be polite to? Because in some cultures, you are, of course, required to be polite to your boss and to your, in a business meeting, maybe to your in-laws, to your parents. These are people you should be polite to. But I tell them that we're pretty polite to basically everybody. I say please and thank you at home. I say please and thank you to my husband and to my children. I say please and thank you to the cashier at the grocery store. Anytime I'm asking for help, I say please. How I taught this to my kids, and if you have kids, this is how you might want to teach them. When my, let's say, 4 or 5-year-old said, "Why do I always have to say please?" I said to them, "Would you like a cookie?" And they went, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, can I have $1 for the cookie?" And they said, I don't have any money. And I said, "Oh, you don't have any money? Well, then if you want to pay for this cookie, you need to pay for it with please and thank you." And I guess that worked because other parents always said to me, "Your children are so polite." And I didn't tell them that I had taught my children that please and thank you are the money. They're the currency with which you get what you want. But I think even as adults, you're more likely to get what you want in Canada by saying please and thank you. So by being polite to our servers in restaurants, you're more likely to get good service. You don't have to. Of course, you're free. I mean, you came to Canada for freedom. So of course, you're free to be rude if you want to be rude. But keep in mind, this is someone who's going to be handling your food. And you want your food to arrive in good condition without anything bad happening to it before it arrives. So be polite to your server. Another question I often hear is, how do I get my server's attention? If I want more coffee, for example, and my server hasn't come back. And I really think customer service in Canada is not great. It may not be terrible, but when I've traveled in the United States, customer service in the United States is way better than customer service in Canada. Your server in a restaurant in Canada might ignore you for a really long time. So knowing how to get their attention is kind of an important thing. The first thing is we need to cover are a few cultural differences. In some countries, you would snap your finger. Don't do that here. That's extremely rude. In some countries, you will tap your finger on the table. Don't do that here. That's very rude. Other people put up their hand and yell, "Excuse me!" And I was at a Chinese restaurant with one of my Chinese students, and I was eating some hot pot, which was very, very spicy. And she said to me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I need some water." And it was a very busy restaurant, and very big. And she stood up in the middle of this very big, very busy restaurant, and she screamed in Chinese at the top of her lungs to get the server's attention. And for me, this was culture shock. I was frankly horrified. I wanted to climb underneath the table from embarrassment, because to yell, as we learned in the previous secret, to yell in public displays of emotion, you don't yell in public. And so in a restaurant, if you need your server's attention, don't yell. Even putting your hand up very high is actually kind of rude. Step number one, the correct way to get your server's attention is to make eye contact. If you can catch their eye, they will come over. So you have to sort of follow them across the restaurant, hoping to catch their eye. That's step number one. Often that works. They should be glancing around, seeing if everybody's okay. If that doesn't work, then step number two is to raise your hand no higher than your shoulder. You can put your hand up, but don't put your hand way up. Just put your hand here, okay? And you don't need to move it around. Just put your hand here and leave it. That means, "Please come and see me." If your server doesn't see you, but another server sees your hand like this, they will probably come over, or they will go and get your server and they will bring them over. If that doesn't work, which I've had the experience of that not working, then you can raise your hand slightly above your head, and you can say, not shouting, but you can say to any server walking by, "Excuse me, can you get my server, please?" Notice that even though I'm not happy, we're going to talk about complaining more in a later secret. Even though I'm not happy and I'm maybe even a little bit angry now, I still say please. It's really important in our culture to complain politely. Okay, I will talk about escalating. I will talk about, when we get to complaining, I will talk about escalating and about when maybe you should show anger. But in general, even though I'm upset, even though I think my server should have been here by now, I'm going to say, "Please, could you get my server, please?" Okay, so eye contact first, hand at your shoulder silently is second, and "Excuse me," a little bit higher, "Excuse me, could you get my server, please?" That's how to get their attention. The other thing I want to tell you is how to complain about your food. Even in a Tim Hortons, even in a McDonald's, even in any restaurant in Canada, if we're not satisfied with our food, it's absolutely okay to complain. If I got coffee from the Tim Hortons and the coffee is not the way I like it, I will take it back to the counter and I will say, "I'm sorry, this coffee isn't right. I ordered double and this is black." You just tell them exactly what the problem is, but do it politely, okay? Yeah, when we're complaining, we start with "sorry," I know it seems really weird. I'm complaining, but I start with sorry. The idea of that is sorry to bother you. And when we're complaining, we're bothering someone. We're interrupting what they were doing. We're being negative. So we start to be more polite. We start with sorry. And so I might say, sorry, this coffee isn't right. And I might even smile while I'm doing it to let the person know I'm not angry. I'm not angry at them. I just need it fixed. Okay? I've had meals in restaurants. I remember one salad I had that obviously they had not washed the lettuce and there was dirt. So I put a mouthful and I'm like, ah, yeah, crunchy carrots are good. Crunchy celery is good. Crunchy dirt, not so good. So if the food has a real problem, or I've had steak or that was not cooked right, or it had way too much salt on it. What I recommend is you need to complain sooner rather than later. Don't eat half your meal and then complain. If you eat half the meal, they're going to wonder, why did you eat it if it wasn't right? But you definitely don't need to eat it if it isn't right. Okay? So I will get the server's attention, as I just mentioned, and then I will say to them, I will indicate my plate. Remember, we don't point with our fingers, we'll use open hands. I will point at my plate and I will say, I'm sorry, the steak is not cooked right. I'm sorry, there seems to be sand in my salad. Could you please take it back to the kitchen? Okay, and get me something else. So normally what happens at that point is they will apologize and they will take my meal away and they will ask me if I want the same thing or I want something different. Well, if the salad is sandy, I don't want another salad. So I might ask for soup instead. In a good restaurant, they will give you another meal. If there's something seriously wrong with your meal, they'll give you another meal. And they may take they may take the meal that you ordered first and the replacement meal. You might not pay for either one, which is really good. So it's like an apology for the mistake that they made. But I want to tell you, there's no law in Canada that they have to do that. So if a restaurant will replace your meal for you, that's fantastic. They can't charge you for two meals. If you only ate one of the meals, they can't charge you for two. But I'm not going to tell you that you'll get it for free. You might get it for free, which would be great, but you might not get it for free. And there's no law that says that they have to give it to you for free. Our customer service laws only protect us against fraud, and like lies. You know, if you return something to a store, like let's say, I'll give you two examples. Canadian Tire is very difficult to return to. They've got like a 7-day or a 14-day. If you don't have the receipt, forget it. I mean, they're very strict in their policy. Whereas Walmart, on the other hand, I can bring my cup that I bought 6 months ago and I don't have the receipt and there's no tag on it, but I did buy it there. They can recognize it as one of their brands, and I can say, you know, this cup cracked after just 6 months. I didn't drop it or anything. And their customer service is fantastic. They will give me, if I don't have a receipt, they will give me a gift card that allows me to buy something else in the store for that value. But there's no legal requirement that they do that. Okay? If a store says no refunds and no exchanges, that's not illegal. That's actually, they are within their rights. So keep in mind that any store who will let you exchange or they will refund your money is doing it out of good customer service. And so you should be grateful and you should be polite. Okay, so once they bring me a new meal, I say, thank you so much. If I then saw that they charged me the full price for the second meal, I might, when I get the bill, I might say, oh, I thought there would be a discount because the first meal I couldn't eat. So if they don't do it for free, feel free to ask. My mother hates it when I do this. She would never, never ask for a discount. But I think, you know, it costs you nothing to ask. So don't hesitate to ask for a discount in Canada. We don't have laws about that. Ask. You know, you can ask for a discount at a dentist. You can ask for a discount at a pharmacy. You can ask for a discount in any store. I'm not saying they're going to give you a discount. They might give it to you and they might not give it to you, but you can ask for it anywhere. Okay, so that's today's secret. Secret number 15, be polite. Even when you're complaining, be polite to servers in restaurants. Our next secret, secret number 16, is going to be who pays. And we're going to have another talk about culture shock, because who pays in a restaurant is, I think, one of the greatest culture shocks that my newcomer students reported to me over the last 30-something years that I've been teaching English. All right, thanks for watching. And as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time for Who Pays. Thanks.